So, everyone having a good time so far? It's awesome, like I said. I mean, this is history in the making, and it's such an honor to be part of this, to see the community coming together, just to see what's happening, and just going to the next level. And we all needed this, and I'm not just talking about the community, I'm talking about the presenters, I'm talking about everyone. It was time, and the time is now. And things are they're about to change, but they're going to change in a good way. Like I said, we're going to be moving forward. We've got a lot of great presentations coming up. We've got a lot of great things going to happen, for the rest of today and into tomorrow. And it's such a privilege and honor to be able to introduce the next presenter, the next speaker. For me, it was the second video, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, was the infamous Flat Earth Clues. And whether you came to it at the beginning, at the early stages, or when it was completed, something about Flat Earth Clues started to kind of bring things in a way that really wasn't presented in a way like that before. And for me, one of the things was, I don't know if it was Flat Earth Clues 7 or 8, but it was they're hiding God. And for me, that was a trigger point where I was like, wait a minute, whoa. What if it's that grand? What does it say in Romans? It says that the creation testifies to the true creator. So if there was an adversary, what would be your number one way to destroy the idea of a creator in people's minds? You would attack creation. You would attack the reality of what it truly is. And so I know that Mark Sargent has been in this for a long time. He's been in the ups and downs. He's persevered. I would go so far to say that Mark Sargent is one of the hardest workers in Flat Earth. I hear a lot of things about Mark Sargent, but one thing I can say is I don't care who you are, what city you live in, whoever, whatever your belief is. If you want him to mirror something, get the word out, promote what you're doing, he will do it. He will wake up early to do it. If it comes to an interview with the media, he will wake up at 3 a.m. to do it if it's international media. He will drop what he's doing to promote it. So for all the stuff that's been said about Mark Sargent, the question is, and I always basically say, is how can it be a bad thing when he will promote any one of us? You want to have a meetup in your city? Get a hold of Mark Sargent. He will get the word out instantly. Before you can actually get off the internet, he's probably got a video up. And it's an amazing thing. But Flat Earth Clues, let's just go back to that for a second, because for me it was the second video. And seeing that all come together, having more of a conspiratorial mind, seeing kind of dots being connected, the way it was presented, the way it was put together was revolutionary. It really was. And for so many people, it was a profound, pivotal moment that happened. And again, Mark Sargent has done a lot of incredible things. And I'm just grateful. I've got to know Mark over the last couple of years. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and yeah, it's going to be amazing. And I just want everyone to welcome Mark Sargent. What? Sure. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you. Love you. All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is the Q&A. It is my fault. Well, no, it's not entirely my fault. But I have a short opening statement, which I actually wrote in the dining room of my hotel. And then we're going to do Q&A. This is interactive. This is a chance with a group this large. I do not have a chance to talk to everybody here, and I am so sorry. I apologize in advance. Normally, the meetups I go to are much, much smaller. So what we're going to do is there's 2 microphones. One over there in that aisle, one over there in that aisle. If you have questions, I will, feel free to line up and ask them while I'm reading the opening statement. And if you ask a question, just as a little enticement, anyone asks a question will get a signed Illuminati card, signed by me. From the official Illuminati New World Order deck. So, and just to make it interesting, I have put 4 Las Vegas cards randomly out there for you. All right, so here's the opening statement by me, which I wrote in my room. And I'm trying not to get emotional here because it's such a great, amazing thing to see everybody. So many faces I recognize, and so many people that have been with me over the last couple of years. It goes a little something like this. I love the Flat Earth community. That's no lie. All right? I love each and every one of you. I love you, excited person over there. But let me be clear. I am not the father of Flat Earth. All right? All I did was walk up to a door that was already there, point at it, and say, hey, I think there's something very interesting on the other side. All right? And all you crazy people, you had to poke your head inside and take a look around. Now, here we are, 2 years later. You've taken this further than I ever would have hoped. For that, I'd like to give you my deepest and most sincere thank you to each and every one of you. I don't care if you're creating content. I don't care if you've got a massive YouTube channel. I don't care if you're doing interviews. If you're here, like D. Marble said, you're part of the resistance. You're part of the solution. Someone asked me yesterday, and then we'll go straight to comments. Someone asked me yesterday, as this room was being set up, aren't you nervous about seeing all those chairs? I told them, I don't see chairs. I see a Flat Earth army. One that will shake the foundation of mainstream science. There you go.
Thank you, Mark.
Welcome. So, microphones, questions. Raise your hand if there's, unfortunately the lights are in my eyes, so you got somebody. Who's over there? Yes, question.
I'm Mike Wood. My question is, you have a background in playing computer games and know some bit about computer programming.
Right.
And I was wondering what your thoughts on if the reason the Earth appears flat is because we're really just a computer simulation and it
Right.
was just too hard to program in a curve. It was just much easier to program in flat.
Why not program a curve into it?
No, I'm saying is maybe that's the reason it's flat because
yeah,
it was
yeah,
too
yeah.
difficult to program the curve and they took the easy way out and just made it flat.
It's way more, you're absolutely right. It's way more efficient to program it flat. And I'm not going to go out and say it's absolutely a simulation. Of course, what is matter, where are we, and that sort of thing. But you're absolutely right. In the development world, 99% of all programmers program it flat. Not because it's clever, because they're lazy. Exactly. That's really all there is. Programming a curve is hard. You've got to go take into a lot of geometry, so you don't do it. So you always will develop it flat if you can. Yeah, absolutely right. Get your card. Get out of here.
All right.
All right, over there.
Michael.
Uh-oh, is your mic off? While we're fixing that mic, we go back to that mic.
Hey there, Mark.
Hey, what's up?
Robert Forsch.
Hey.
I know you mentioned that you went to a door. What I'm kind of curious about is how did you even think to look at that door?
Sheer, call it fate, call it providence, call it, it was, for me, part of it was boredom. I looked at a lot of conspiracies. If anyone knows my story, I was a conspiracy guy for years and years and years and thought I had seen it all. And everybody here knows, they've all heard about the Flat Earth. That's the weird part. Everybody here has their top 10 conspiracies, and Flat Earth was absolutely not on that list. And then, for whatever reason, everybody's got their own story of how it happened. I just was, recommended to me was just a flight path thing by a guy in Germany. And I took a look at it and was going, this might have some validity. But truthfully, in the back of my mind, I was going, it's flat Earth. It's a piece of crap. I can shut this thing down in a weekend. That was a big mistake. And then I put out my phone number, which was even worse.
And I called you. It was cool. I thought, hey, they know I'm calling them. It's okay. I'm calling them anyway.
Yeah. And I appreciate, by the way, people that call me and just leave messages, or people that call me and hang up and then call again because they don't know the number is real. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, wait, is somebody, and as I did that, as I said that, somebody's actually calling my phone right now. All right, is 479 area code in Arkansas, are you actually in the room right now? Did you just do that? All right, we'll say no. All right, Rick, are you?
Yeah, Michael Cusack is here from Indiana. Indiana in the house. Where you at? Make some noise. The Hoosier State made it. All right, everybody's excited about that except everybody.
Wait, but who am I talking to? This side or this side? That side.
Michael
Okay, sorry,
Cusack,
go
right
ahead.
Hey, I love your stuff.
Hey, man.
Big fan. Is your real name Wreck-It Ralph?
Wreck-It Ralph.
And what is your favorite ice cream?
That's good. That's good. I know. I was actually. That's what, because of how I look, or because the whole Ralph thing. The Ralph thing.
Yeah, the Ralph.
No. My name is not Ralph.
Hey, if you're math, whatever your name is, Powerland, if you're here listening, just delete your account because you just cost too much. Promotion,
you know what?
man,
I'm glad you brought that up early, though. And by the way, guys, reminded me when I get 2 minutes left because I do want to read. I want to end this with an inspirational email that somebody sent to me just before I came to the conference. But to the guy's question, just to clear this up once and for all, look, I have been accused of being a lot of things since 2015. I mean, literally right out of the bat, March 2015. So real quick, and some of you already heard this list. I've actually made this list. It's called Mark Sargent Was or Has. I was a deadbeat dad from Boston caught on video, high-ranking Mason, faked an appendix operation, faked a world pinball championship. I was a drone strike pilot for the United States Air Force, a professional psychological operations officer for the CIA, living in Patricia Steer's apartment with David Weiss, married to Patricia Steer, had a Croatian child 18 years ago with Patricia Steer, and said child is possibly a Russian spy, a full-time NSA data miner, and a Hollywood executive working at Warner Brothers, currently living in San Diego, which means I'm in the gay mafia, and I'm a large Jewish woman. So, look, if somebody wants to say my name is Joe, and I live in California, it's like, oh wait, you didn't give him a card? Oh, Patricia's, wait, who's got the cards? No. Those are the ones we're giving out to people.
Right, so I should give one.
Wait.
I'm the card. I'm the card.
Oh, come on. Look, come on.
You gotta let your wife do that.
No. Look. Girls, you're both pretty. Come on. Really? So they have to come up to you to get the card?
After they leave the mic, come up and see Patricia.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so on this side, if you ask a question, you gotta literally walk up to the front, probably breaking all sorts of security protocols, and pick up the card from Patricia. You, go!
Hi, Mark. This is Malav Shanti. We spoke to you in Georgia at the Flat Earth and Global Debate.
Cool.
The question I have is what I wanted to ask. How long do you think it will take for this to be taught alongside the globe Earth? Or better yet, what
Taught?
steps...
That's a tough question.
Or better yet, what steps need to happen before this is...
I know where your question is. How long? Where are we? I would disagree with some of the speakers so far, which is, look, I think we're almost at the critical mass point, and the media here proves that. There is a whole bunch, and I'm not going to list them off here because I actually don't know all of them. There's a whole bunch, though. The media that came here unsolicited on this. This is a big deal, and I can't stress this enough to you guys. When you walk into a room like this and you're media and you see this many people that aren't dressed in costume like they're going to Comic-Con down in California, you, as a media person, you're taking a step back and you're going, whoa, what in the world? Because everybody's serious. I mean, you guys are all dressed normal. I mean, yeah, there's the guy with a Russian coat and a fur hat over there, but that's fine. That's not actually bad. It's not tinfoil, at least. Everybody else is really cool and they're really serious, and everybody knows the stories. They know how, like the slides that are going, but that's Strange World slides just randomly going up in the background, in case you guys didn't like somebody's question and you wanted to watch something. So anyway, critical mass, we're already there. I think I'm really curious to see after this conference ends, before the Sydney conference comes up and before the London conference comes up, what science is going to have to address this. Plain and simple. They cannot dodge us forever. It's kind of like, and I know I'm dating myself, it's kind of like the Clubber Lang, Rocky Balboa from Rocky 3. I mean, it's like, you can't dodge me, and I shouldn't do those accents. Anyway, sorry, over there. What do you got?
Hey, I'm Ryan McNay from Seaside, Florida, which, interestingly enough, is the little town where The Truman Show was filmed.
Oh, nice.
I'm also the only person I know anywhere remotely close to there who's onto this, and so I get to be the guy that's sitting at the bar after work, and people come out and go, "So tell me about this," which is a lot of fun. So I have one very specific question, which I've been getting a lot recently, and I have not found an answer to, which is, is there any kind of collective answer or input on the Aurora Borealis? How does that kind of play into the model that we're working with?
People can chime in all over the place. For me, it's
Yeah,
just
if you have an answer for that, please. I'm the dude in the reggae coat. Come and find me in the
Yeah,
hallway.
it's
'cause
for
like
me, it's
17 people on Facebook. Like, are you going to ask them about the Aurora Borealis?
it's just, for me, it's just another part of the light show. Remember, I mean, if it's an enclosed system, and I do believe in an enclosed system, I know that there's some infinite plane people out there, but I do believe in a dome, a firmament. And I think it's just part of the light show, ever evolving. It's a pretty part of the light show, but I don't focus on it too much. I mean, we got too many problems to worry about with the sun and the moon, and to a lesser degree, the stars. So it's something we can simulate in a planetarium now, not very well, but we can do it. So that's it. I mean, I like our explanation better than what science says, that it's part of the solar wind bouncing off the poles. You know, as we're traveling 60,000 miles an hour through space in one direction and 500,000 another. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh yeah, you gotta get your card because Patricia's making this fun. Oh God, I did not know I was gonna get Vanna White for this. Go.
Hey Mark, it's Mark from New York. How you doing?
Oh my.
That's weird.
Nice.
Awesome, cool.
Nice. Thank you, by the way, for coming. The guy that actually makes my voice sound bad when you get on and call.
Nice. I like your shirt, by the way.
Oh yeah, by the way, yeah. Mark made this shirt for me. Flat Earth University, right there, and Sargent 68 on the back. Very nice. So, what's up, Mark?
Actually, I have a real question. I wanted to ask about, you were explaining once about instancing and looking at the sun, because we were out front talking about triangulating. Could you just explain that again? Because I wasn't really sure.
No, it's good. Instancing is a development term, and that is the realization of an object, and I'm not going to bore you with that stuff, it's technical. But I don't necessarily believe that's what the sun is now anymore. I'm more inclined, in fact, we were just talking about this over lunch, that it's more of a, kind of like, remember the Eric Dollard thing where he said the sun is a transformer that's beaming energy from somewhere else? Or it could be like when you take a magnifying glass and you make that really, really bright point on the ground before you burn ants or whatever you do with it. If you move that around, I mean, technically that's a really, really bright point and you can hardly even look at it, it's so bright. But technically it's not radiating from anything. It was just a focal point.
Right.
So I almost think that's what it is, because if you had a dome-like structure, you could create a focal point just about anywhere. Of course, there's some dead giveaways to that. One would be sundogs, which Jeffrey Grupp loves to do.
So the light source could be somewhere else.
Could be somewhere else.
Being projected.
I'm not kidding you. If you guys have never looked up Eric Dollard, it's an amazing thing. I mean, it's creepy. I know he's like living in that car when he's doing that interview. But he's sitting there and he's saying that, and there's so much conviction in his voice. He's like, no, the sun isn't generating anything. There's no fusion. We don't know. We don't even know what the sun is. But it's definitely. He was saying that it's kind of like a light bulb. The power for it is coming from somewhere else.
Okay.
So is that it?
Cool. Awesome. Yeah.
Cool. You don't actually get to go up to Patricia.
Actually, I was going to ask you, what color is your car?
The color of my car officially is cool vanilla. That is the Chrysler designation for it. Thank you for that.
Hey, over here real quick, Mark. One of the guys to look up too is Steve Torrance and Mike Kavanaugh. They did a model, a rendering, that kind of shows the pattern of the sun and the circuitry, so that you can actually see that. And it kind of goes along with what you were saying about the light not being necessarily projection, but more of a, I don't even want to say projection because I don't know if that's
we're
what it is.
talking about tech. Remember, in a planetarium, we can duplicate just about everything in the night sky right now. And that planetarium technology has been around since what? The 70s. Back when on weekends they would turn the planetarium into like Laser Floyd and Laser Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. So the only reason we can't, in fact, we've got the tech now. The only reason you can't do daylight scenes in a planetarium is because we don't have the ability to generate that many lumens. So whoever's running this place has a lot more tech than we do. Sorry, was there a question on that side?
He's got one right here.
Yeah.
I'm very happy, Mark, that there is Bruce Willis standing next to me to take care. Very good. No, Mark, I'm... yeah. Okay. No, one question. I'm Harro Fulgraber from Germany. We are here from a science magazine, which is called Galileo.
Are you the one I'm doing the interview with
I'm
after
the
this
one,
thing's
yeah.
over? Oh, thank
Hi,
you.
nice
I
to
was
meet you.
wondering. I didn't know who I was talking to after this.
No, I have a question. Even when we speak about our school system, just that we've been taught, I've been taught about the globe and everything like that.
Right.
All over the world, not only here in the US. Can you tell me something about the motivation? Because if somebody wants to tell me a story, it always has to be a motivation for
The big question. I think I know where you're going.
What is in your
why?
in your eyes?
Right?
Why
you mean
do
why?
they tell
why
us
it was
something?
why it's built or why it's being hidden?
Why?
Why being hidden or why was it built in the first place?
No, why is it like that we grow up with this knowledge all over the world? And what is the advance for those people who, in your eyes, who tell us not the truth?
I will chime in on this. When it comes to this world, and I know it's not an absolute map, but if this is the world, more or less, then it was created. And if it was created, then you're not alone. Plain and simple. All right? You've never been alone. Your whole life, there's always been someone with you. You can't be the ultimate authority in the world if you're not the ultimate authority. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, one of the rules of power is you never admit that there's someone bigger than yourself, because that diminishes your authority. If you're the government running something, the last thing you're going to do is say, oh yeah, those guys could kick our ass all day long. Because all of a sudden, it's true, where all of a sudden you would, someone would come to, if you were trying to be oppressive to your people, the people would say, why would I have to listen to you? These guys are way better than you are, and then, it leads to bad things from the government standpoint. So that's why. Short version is, they are hiding God. How's that?
So that means it's based on...
Wait, sorry. Say it one more time.
Sorry, that means it's based on religion?
Not necessarily based on religion, but definitely based on spirituality. At the very least, based on spirituality, yes. I mean, everybody here has felt it. Robbie had a great quote, and that is, try to be an atheist and be in flat earth. It cannot be done. I have yet to find an atheist that believes in any version of this model.
Actually, a lot of atheists have come to find him.
Oh, absolutely. Look, guys, some of you already know this. I fell away from the church for years. And I know you got a whole bunch of questions, but we'll talk during the thing. But I fell away from the church for a long time because I was a big tech guy into science, and I love NASA and all the space movies. When I got into this, that turned it all back around. Now, yeah, I had to sort of give up all the science fiction stuff and the space movies, and I was kind of sad because I owned a lot of the DVDs. But at the same time, I became, you get filled with that inner peace, that inner connection that you can't get anywhere else. No worldly thing can give it to you. So, all right.
Okay.
Sorry. So,
Thank you.
by the way, is Prisha over there giving cards out?
I
Good.
got it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, Vanna, turn the letters. Okay, over there.
Hey, Mark, Earth Pond here.
Hey, Earth Pond.
I want to ask you, within the CIA, who actually implanted you within the community? Just kidding. But
I did.
No, I was going to actually ask you if you intended on doing any more clues, or are you just going to keep doing the
Honestly,
interviews?
right now, look, there hasn't been a demand for the clues since there's so much other content was generated. Honestly, truthfully, if somebody emailed me and said, oh yeah, Mark, you really should do more clues, if I had a whole bunch of emails, yeah, I'd probably do some. But I'm amazed every time. It's hard to even keep up with content now. I almost envy the people that are going into Flat Earth for the first time, because there is a wall. I should put down this globe. There's a wall of content out there that I cannot literally keep up with. I mean, I'm doing Flat Earth and I'm sorting by per hour now, just what's happened in the last hour. So I'm just going wherever it takes me. I'm on a ride. I am in no control of this whatsoever. I'm glad and humbled that the clues touched as many people as they did. And everything else has been unsolicited. The interviews, the radio stuff, the book stuff, all the people I've met. If it comes to that, yeah, if I wake up in the middle of the night and say, yeah, clues there, I absolutely will do it. But my God, we've uncovered so many stones. I don't know if there's any stones left that science can come back on. Look, it's 2 years. We still can't get a decent debate from mainstream science. So anyway, don't want to ramble.
Yeah, cheers, man. You're actually the one who got me to actually consider the Flat Earth, so thanks for that.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. You, over there, somewhere.
Hey, Bruce. Hey, Mark.
Bruce.
Yeah, I'm Adam. I'm from Kansas City.
Hey.
Hey.
Kansas City,
Got
represent.
a question for you with all the hubbub, kind of regarding the AE model versus the other models
Right.
currently. Isn't it foolhardy on our behalf to come to a collective, consensus regarding this stuff? When if we are criticizing the fact that the space programs are showing us, non-legitimate photos from space,
Right.
and we can't show them a legitimate photo, of our model.
No, we can't.
That just seems a little bit dangerous. I
that's
guess
a-
I would say, and maybe a turnoff to people that are
Not
really
necessarily.
trying to apply the scientific
no,
method.
I know where you're going with this.
So I have one other part, just real quick.
all right.
But go ahead.
Oh well, no. Let me address this. And that is, and actually the shirt represents this. And that is, and I didn't actually have anything to do with how they made this up. Flat Earth University, right? If Flat Earth is a university, and I'm going to try to lean more towards that in the future, then my role would be really the freshman recruiter. I bring the kids on campus. That's what I do. And remember, freshmen are skittish. They don't go to campuses that spook them. And so by that I mean, people come in, but once you get into the university, then you can go off and do anything you want, and they can specialize in stuff. Like if you want to do land experiments, if you want to do air experiments, if you want to do water experiments, you want to do photography, you want to do songs, you want to do podcasts and radio shows and all that stuff, then you can do it. And as far as alternative models, or advanced models, I call them advanced models. I don't call them alternative models anymore, because there's probably way more advanced things than this. But remember, this has got to be easy to understand. For the average person, you've got to be able to explain it to them and say, okay, this is what we think it is. Now, if there's more advanced thing, that's like a senior level class, 4-year. And you can't, for me, it's not my role. It's, you will spook the freshmen in that case, and it's worked great so far. I mean, look where we are. This is the first time we've had a Flat Earth conference literally in 500 years. And
Would you agree that the only way to legitimately apply the scientific method is to go either explore the Antarctic or the Arctic? I mean, is that not the only way
eventually,
to legitimize
yes.
this? Because scientism's not going to answer
Agreed.
our questions right now.
Some of the experiments coming down the road, we'll try to address it the best we can. Look, this thing has been, remember, they had a 60-year head start trying to lock this thing down, and we've undid most of it in, 2 years?
Yeah, that's good.
So we're getting there. I mean, we're way, play on words, way ahead of the curve against them. So,
thank you very much.
Oh, very welcome. Go.
I was wondering, how high do you think the dome is?
How old are you?
12.
I can't even tell. How old do you think he is? Awesome. That's great. 12?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's good for you. Excellent. As far as height, you can go out there and take a look at Chris Pontius's models. Those are pretty cool. But as far as, for me, I can only go with the data that was released by the government. And by that I mean the high altitude atomic tests that were done from 58 to 62, the highest of which was roughly 400 kilometers. I don't know, though, because you're also talking about, the firmament versus where the sun and moon are inside it and where the stars are inside it or outside it. It's tough, but it's definitely shallow. I know that. And I know people bugs them when I say, snow globe. Right? And people are like, no, but people sometimes listen, because really, if they're not that intelligent at all, that's what it's like, they'll go with the lowest thing, and it's like, oh, snow globe, I totally understand that, but a snow globe's arc is way too high, so it's super shallow in compared to the width, so it would look really much like a sports stadium, which is why Chris Pontius's stuff out there, it's still higher than what I think it is, but it's probably the closest thing we got at the moment.
And do you think there's anything beyond the ice wall?
More, yeah, I think it goes on for a long, are we talking about just the coastline of Antarctica?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I do, because remember, Admiral Byrd, it took him the better part of 30 years just flying around in ever better planes until finally he figured it out. So yeah, the white part on this thing would go on for a long, long ways, thousands of miles. So, I mean, we of course condense everything down because it's easier to, to explain to people. But yeah, I do think there's a lot more land out there, absolutely. The only question is, how far out does it go before you hit the outer marker, and where is the dome in comparison to it? So.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, by the way, and thank you for coming. Did you come here with your parents? Did you sneak out of school? How'd you get here?
I came here with my parents.
Right on. Where are your parents?
right over there.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. And that absolutely in about 17 minutes will seg me into my letter I was going to read you guys because it's perfect. Perfect segue. Go.
Hi, my name's Vivian. I'm from Australia. I'm reporting for the Sydney Morning Herald.
Right on. Australia. Nice.
So our German friend asked about sort of the end game of the people who propagate the theory. My question for you is, who is behind propagating the globalist lie? I know you mentioned the U.S. government. Is it the U.S. government? And are other governments in collusion?
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. All those things. All of the above. But when it comes to number of people, that's where I take it way, way down. Because as you know, and you guys have all heard the arguments, well, you're talking about every scientist and every pilot and every person ever worked at NASA. It's like, no, no, no. Yeah, if it was a normal conspiracy, yeah, you would have to get a lot more people involved. But since this thing is so big, less is more. Meaning you only, at NASA, the only people you'd need would be the telemetry guys and maybe the high brass. When it comes to the governments, you don't need to tell presidents and princes necessarily. I mean, they're not high enough on the food chain. So we're talking about a very, very small group of people. And no, I don't necessarily want to get into like naming. It's like, you know, is it the Illuminati or the Bilderbergs or the Trilateral Commission or the Vatican or just go on and on. But it is a small, scary group of smoking men sitting around a long table.
And I guess a follow-up to that question would be, if the end game is godlessness, would there be some sort of satanic element bringing those governments together?
Yes. Yes, there would be.
Where are you from?
Oh, and while you're walking away, let me answer that with one more thing. In the absence of good, there is evil.
Thank you.
All right? Anyway, thank you very much. And hopefully I'll talk to you later. Yes?
Sure. Hello, my name is Robert Ross. I'm a computer programmer, web developer, photographer, and music producer.
Nice.
And I was wondering, people like Elon Musk who fund the SpaceX program, when they reach... If they actually do produce a rocket capable of reaching the dome, so to speak, keep in mind I'm new to the flat Earth theorem. I'm a bit of a noob. I don't know if this is a noobish question, but are they going to strike it and immediately explode, or will they just hug the edge and just sort of...
Officially, Elon Musk is not... Anything that man says is an outright lie. I just want to say that. Anybody covering this... Elon Musk just pulls crap out of his butt on a weekly basis. That his headlines are the most ridiculous, outrageous things. Even from, I'm a sci-fi lover, and I hate everything Elon Musk ever said. You gotta remember, he's still saying that, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna take 2 tourists around the moon in 6 months from now. Right? With what capsule? With what booster? With what? Who are the pilots? You haven't even named the tourists that are going to be there. He just makes up this. Oh yeah, we're going to colonize Mars. And every time he does this, the press just latches on. Hey, he's a visionary. It's ridiculous. So as far as what he's doing, his projects. Oh yeah, by the way, he's supposedly sending stuff. Virgin Galactic's not doing anything. But SpaceX is supposedly doing the capsules to the ISS, you know, doing resupply, and yet we never see any photography of it docking. You know, all you know is like, oh, they're taking off, and then 3 hours or 4 hours later, it's like, oh, we're now entering the ISS in our khakis and our polo shirts and our socks. It's like, what's with the no shoes? Anyway, so when it comes to him saying that he's going to launch stuff and curve over, no. Even he probably doesn't know exactly because they want him to act naturally. I mean, as much as I hate Neil deGrasse Tyson, I still don't know if he's fully disclosed on everything that's going on because remember, it's better if the person's acting naturally. He's got a smile on stage. I don't want to get into Neil deGrasse Tyson. Sorry, I could ramble on forever. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Hi, Cy from Washington State.
Hey, Washington State, represent.
We're good?
Well, then no one cheered like that for Indiana.
First of all, I'd like to give credit to the King of Truth, Jesus Christ, for us all being here. Second of all, just a quick statement, just for you guys, the leaders. There is a push to look into the Aurora Borealis and the possibility of it being the original Garden of Eden. I'll let y'all take a look at that, whatever.
Cool.
My second part of this is, what do you think of Eric Dubay and his divisiveness with you, and who was the leader of this movement. Not that that's important, but also his fact or his point of trying to eliminate Jesus from the entire equation.
Gotcha. All right. When it comes to Eric, and you guys know probably my stance, I'll give a kind of a conference stance first. First, he was absolutely invited to this thing from day one. He was like, hey, Eric, can you go? He politely declined, and then he put us under the bus during an Eddie Bravo interview. If you haven't seen it, you probably should. It's kind of cringeworthy. As far as the differences between he and I held out the olive branch for him for the better part of 2 years. And I was like, look, you still chance, come back. You've got 6 figures plus subscribers. You can still do some good here. And a lot of people watch his videos. They get a lot of hit counts. But when he threw us under the bus, there was nothing else I could do. I mean, literally, he called the conference a shill fest. And it's like, come on, man. It's like, and he wouldn't endorse anybody. So that was it. That was all I could do. I was way more patient than most when it comes to that. I still don't hate the guy, but there's nothing, if he's not willing to come halfway, nothing I can do. Sorry. But thank you. Yes?
Hey, Mark, it's Candy from North Carolina.
Hi, Candy.
So you guys that watch Strange World will get this.
I'm
I
sorry,
just need to know if you have started planning that wedding.
Planning our wedding between you and I? Okay. First off, two words, restraining order, all right? Second, I love you to death, Candy. I really, really do. You have been a fan. I mean, one, you're wearing one of the Flat Earth University shirts right now. You've been one of my biggest cheerleaders, and I adore you for every time you go into a chat room and just keep typing my name. You just look at Mark Sargent. Look at Mark Sargent. And thank you. Thank you for everything you've done so far. And as far as our wedding goes, well, don't know.
I still love you.
But thank you. All right.
Mark, it's Joshua Reeder, and I'm a business guy, an entrepreneur, and I have certain visionary insights into some markets and some verticals, and this is a very new and fresh one and interesting one, and so I always see a lot of people that have different talents to bring to the marketplace per se, and I feel like there's tons and tons of very smart and creative people that are probably looking at a lot of videos and seeing people produce maybe some content of some sort. My question is, what do you see the need for in the market as far as some people that could step out in a new creative way, even in the realms of, let's just say, I don't know, an app, an iPhone app, or a website, or something, some exploratory type thing that needs to be happening? What could other people rise up and kind of help with the collective here? 'Cause I think there's more people that want to get involved.
Oh, no, I got you. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, as far as how it's grown, it's everything has seemed very, very natural. Meaning all the different stages of different aspects of Flat Earth, the different video types, the different backgrounds of people coming into it. Everybody's been doing what they specialize in. That's one of the reasons I love Flat Earth, is that it inspires people at their core. So whatever you're good in, Flat Earth just seems to amplify that. As far as what we need, what we have a gap in right now, probably more, the obvious things, more experimentation, more pinning down of scientists, anybody with a master's degree in a physical science, geology, hydrology, biology, astrophysics, astronomy. Any of those would be really, really great. I know that most academics won't touch it with a 10-foot pole because you don't want to be the guy that loses to Flat Earth. You don't want to be that guy.
Right.
It's in a boxing match, it literally, and you guys have heard me say this, if you go in, if you're an academic and you go into a Flat Earth boxing match, you've got to win in the first round really, really quickly. If you don't, then you're losing. And you don't want to, if it's a draw, you've lost. If you go to the third round, you've lost. So those are the things we're missing right now. More experimentation, and I know we're working on that, and there's some things coming down the pipe. I'm not going to do spoilers, but there's some really, really cool things coming. And more debates. What I'd really love, honestly, and part of this is going to come down to the media that's covering this now, would be the media organizing. It's like, honestly, it would be embarrassing to put Bill Nye in a room with somebody because he's just terrible. But somebody from the academic field, give me some astrophysicist that's published something, because Neil won't do it. That's what we really need right now is heavy debate and more experimentation. That's what we're missing at the moment. We've got tons of other content right now. I mean, literally there are, if you look it up, what Robbie had me do, literally there's like literally a million videos, not just hit results, a million videos with the word flat earth in them right now.
Right.
That's an amazing amount, and media take notice of that.
Yep,
Anyway.
agreed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. I'm Jay Kennedy. I'm a pastor from South Carolina.
Oh,
and,
thank you.
Yeah. So obviously this conference for us is not about convincing us. You know, we've watched all the videos, so these are the people who are willing to invest money in something they're already convinced about. We can maybe learn some, you know, a few more proofs here and there. But what I've heard so far this morning is, you know, Jaron said to do your own experimentation, you know, do your own research.
Right.
We've heard to say that, you know, the people in this room, the folks who have been convinced, we're the kind of the next step here in this movement. And so my question, or maybe a request to all the content producers in the room today, is that, you know, being a pastor, I'm kind of all about figuring out how to spread the message, you know. The question is, what's the next step for us in spreading the message? I'm thinking in terms of tools that the content producers can give us to put in our hands that are very accessible, that we can use to then spread the message in a very common sense way to people in helping to convince them, rather than, you know, sending them to 3 2-hour YouTube videos where honestly, in those videos, there are going to be some 50-50 proofs, you know, that will work on either model.
Right.
And so for someone who's a skeptic, those 50-50 proofs aren't going to really do the trick. And then there's some higher level scientific things like, you know, Michelson-Morley that aren't that accessible to folks. But I'm looking for the middle ground, maybe, where if you can give us, you know, these 5 things that we can do to reproduce an experiment, to take someone through, to, you know, to really be very compelling and simple and accessible.
I know you're talking about the magic bullet, and it's a nice thought, and everybody's gone through this. It's like, I have the magic bullet. I'm going to tell my family about flat Earth during Thanksgiving. Whoa. That goes over really, really well. Yeah. There is no magic bullet because it comes down to your audience. If we're talking about a chapter and verse type thing, you've heard me say it, I recommend testingtheglobe.com or books by Zen Garcia. There's a lot of material out there. As far as, I mean, you just got to size up your audience. There is no one hook. Everybody's got their little, I mean, I've got my trap question regarding the Van Allen belts, and that goes pretty well. Rob Skiba, I know, uses, how can you prove the globe without using NASA? There's short things, but I mean, really it's an individual, which is why I do the Fight Club reference. You have to size up your opponent. If you have to come at, if they're not, again, real short, if they're not into conspiracies, you got to come at them sideways. And most of all, and I can't stress this enough to anyone out there, don't lump in other conspiracies in your argument, because Flat Earth puts them on their heels so quickly, they don't know how to recover. Just about every interview I've done, and I've been really careful about it, I don't let them bring up Sandy Hook or Boston bombing or 9/11 or every major war the Americans have ever fought, going on and on and on. There's nothing, you don't want to do that, because then they'll latch onto that, because they know, they're more, it's like, then they'll sidetrack you. I always, stick with Flat Earth. That's the big one, because it is so disarming. Well, that and it's polarizing, and that it makes people really, really irritated. But you have to gauge the level of irritation and just pick. I mean, honestly, I don't have, if I knew what you're talking about, the playlist, or the magic bullet, I would have a playlist of only 5. The one I recommend to most people now, which it's on my YouTube channel. It's just, in fact, you don't even have to go to my channel. Just type in Flat Earth Shortlist. It's literally the Flat Earth Shortlist for new people. It's a collection of all sorts of people, mostly from the presenters here. But there's some from other people that aren't presenters here. It's really good to go off of. Anyway, sorry. Probably have time for 2 more, and then I will read this email, and then we'll go. What?
Want to thank you for coming to Los Angeles. That was a wonderful thing.
You're from the Pasadena native. Thank you.
I'm Angel Shackleton with FlatEmpire.com. Kendall, got a question for you.
Yes.
You have said many times about you've done unsolicited. You've put out your phone number so that you're easily reached, you can be taken seriously, and that you didn't monetize anything until you were asked to.
Right.
And now you have your book and all these interviews. When you cash in, which you said you will cash in when you get a deal from filmmakers, from TV makers,
I mean,
what deal would you turn down when you cash
as long
in?
as
What
it covers,
makes it for you?
I know, I got you. As long as it covers flat Earth, I'm doing it. But if somebody came to me and said, hey, we want you to do some television thing, but we want you to do sort of like an Ancient Aliens hybrid sort of thing, I'm going, no. No, flat Earth is what I do now. This is what I do every day. I am flat Earth 24/7. So as long as that integrity, that part of the core stays solid, I will, entertain anything. And there's been things down the pipe, but as far as cashing in, look, as long as it's a flat Earth journey, I'm taking it. If it's not flat Earth, I'm not doing it.
Flat Earth Baywatch.
Flat Earth. Nice. All right, we have time for I think 2 more. What over there?
This is Nathaniel from California, aka Pittsburgh, California.
Is that Pittsburgh, California?
Yes, sir. I'm in the house.
There is such a thing, by the way.
I have one question and a comment. Have you heard anything recent on the supposed moon video, the moon race that they were supposed to be doing?
You mean the Google X Prize?
Yeah, have you heard anything?
Oh, yeah. That can was kicked down the road almost immediately. I knew it was going to happen. If you guys hadn't heard about the Google X Prize, Google was going to pay $20 million to the first company that landed a probe on the moon and return images back, right? And there were 5 countries that were going to be involved: the United States, India, Japan, Israel, and I can't remember the 5th one. Oh, Europeans. And but you had to launch by December 31st of this year. We were talking, 6 weeks from now?
Right.
And they kicked it. It's like, oh no, we're going to postpone the launch date until April. Nobody's even talking about this. Before April, they'll kick it down again. And don't forget the Orion program. All right, last question.
I just have one comment. Just my comment. I just wanted to tell you personally, thank you and all the content providers for that you have doing, beating the steady drum. And for Scripture tell us, let's come to the table and just reason with one another. And that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
When we come together like this, big things can happen as we see. Here we go. So let's keep it flat.
All right. Hey,
Mark, you got time for a couple more, or just one?
No,
One more?
I've got to read this. We don't have time because I don't want to run over.
All right,
Sorry.
just stalk Mark later.
Oh yeah.
Go
Well,
for
by
it.
the way, anybody that's still in line or that wants a card, how many cards you got left on your side?
15 or 20.
15 or 20. Anybody that wants a Illuminati card, see that man over there. Anyone who wants an Illuminati card, stay in line and see that man over there, and you'll get them, even though you didn't ask a question. You're getting them. And yell out if you get the Vegas one. All right, I'm going to end this with it. You guys want to know what inspires me from time to time? I get emails. I love emails. I love phone calls, and they're getting mobbed. Oh my God.
No, it's okay. Just go ahead and read your statement.
Okay, so I'm going to read this. All right, so this one came in just before I came to the conference. Mark, my wife and I went to visit our grandkids this week to hang out with them at the lake and go swimming at the hotel pool. They are 12, 10, and 8 years old and are all third-generation flat earthers. You convinced me nearly 2 years ago. I passed it on to my kids, all 5 adult kids, and together we passed it on to their kids, my grandchildren. So I asked the 2 older ones, the 6th and 7th graders, if the flat earth ever comes up in school. This same thing happened at each of their classes. They were both so excited to tell me that when their science teacher was telling the kids the earth spins at 1,000 miles an hour and goes around the sun, that the class erupted, with about a third of the class saying, no it doesn't. The earth is not spinning, and it does not go around the sun, and it's not a ball, it's flat. They had a big debate, and the teacher let them talk it over. But the same thing happened in both of their classes, in both grades at I'm going to name it, the Frazee Elementary and the Frazee High School in Frazee, Minnesota. That's F-R-A-Z-E-E, Minnesota. My son and his wife are both 31. They tell me that a lot of the young parents in their community are also awake and are hip to the earth being flat. They are all encouraging their kids to speak up about it too. Long live flat earth. That's it. Thank you guys. And thanks, man. Anyway, thank you. Is somebody coming up to?
Rick's on his way.
Rick's on his way. Thank you, guys.
I am out. I just ran out.
I don't know if this mic's on. I'm just going to yell really loud. Is this mic on? Alan, check. How about this one? Is this one on? Check, check. Okay, now it is. Mark Sargent. Honestly, I got to take this out of my ear. Honestly, the thing is about Mark, and I've said this, and we ate together, but I will say this. The most genuine guy that I know on social media. Literally. I mean, come on, dude. I watched 3 videos. I called you. You called me within 2 videos back. Jimmy John's couldn't get there that quick. So just want to say thank you. And it's been a springboard. And, you know, Mark, I know earlier when you started your whole thing, you said, I'm going to get emotional.
Yeah.
I can't blame you. Because the faces, you guys, I've said this all day. The faces that you guys, your eyes, it's in your eyes. It's in your smile. It's genuine. And the media that's here, if you guys don't see this, and if you report something different than what you've seen, shame on you. Shame on you. See, the one thing is, I used to do what you do. I used to worry about numbers and ratings and who's going to get the first headline out there and who's going to get that big story. Don Henley said it best. The bubble-headed bleached blonde comes on at 5. She can tell you about the plane crash with the dream in her eye. This is some serious stuff. And I think it's prophetic. I really do. Because all of us have that same common denominator, and that is we want to learn. Where did that come from? Bingo. Bingo. Somebody said the Holy Spirit. It's our Creator. It's our Father. He loves us. He made an intimate creation for us to dwell in, and we screwed it up. But He's going to fix it. And He's doing it by creating everyone the same, looking the way we do, some of us. But more importantly, He's given us minds and He's given us eyes and ears. And one of the things back, you guys remember the whole Mayan scare? December 21st, 2012? You remember that? Okay. We're still here. If the Mayans were so smart, where are they? But the best part about that is I used to tell people, the end of the world is 2012. The end of the world is 2012. It's Proverbs 20:12. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord hath made even both of them. And congratulations. Some of you don't know it yet, but He turned on your switch. Your eyes are working now. Your ears are working now. Now He's going to work on your heart. I believe that. And your minds. So thank you for being a humble man and speaking the truth, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, without further ado, we're going to take a break. 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes, stretch it out. Don't linger. We don't have a sound effect out there unless somebody comes and says, pull my finger. That means come back in. If somebody does do that, run. But take 5 and come back, and we'll see you here soon, and thank you so much.
Maybe you could just announce, since we don't have a ringer, when the doors close, we're starting.
Okay. Hey guys, when the doors do close, when we start to close the doors, we'll make an announcement. We'll be out there to make the announcement, just so you guys know, because we all lose track of time. But we just don't want to be rude to any of the presenters, and we don't want to be rude to the folks that are already in here sitting down and having the distraction. So thank you for being awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's just my thought.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. Thanks, brother.
That's the first time I got to hear you say that.
Excuse me. Check, check. Check, 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 check. Check 1, 2. All right, if you can hear me out there, well, you close the doors too early now. Now they can't hear me. Somebody near the door, can you just kind of holler out the door that we're getting ready to go? Thanks, brother. Ollie, ollie, oh, come in, come free, whatever it is. Forget, I haven't played kick the can in a while. Iru, Iru, Iru. All right, I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to start making your way. Mark Sargent is holding people up. I'm looking at him right now. Nathan Thompson is the globe head. Just so everybody knows, Mark Sargent is out there right now taking his shirt off, belly flopping into the koi pond. So that's fun. No wonder people are still out there. Huh? Ask Matthew. Gino's got a question. All right, everybody ready? I see, there's still people trickling in. I don't want to mess them up. Rob Skiba's in the big room right now. Rob Skiba, what's happening, brother? I can honestly say that's a guy. That guy right there is that's my brother right there. Truthfully. We haven't gotten a fight yet, though. Rob would win. He's quicker. All right, we're going to shut the doors, guys. You're either in or out. If you're late, you're grounded. All right, one more time here. We got the media going out. You know what? I'll handle this. I don't think anybody's listening. I'm going to do this, Iru. I'll get this done. I'm going to lay down the law. Doggone it. You guys are going to get us all in trouble. Mom said you can't get wet. Oh, it's Mark Sargent. It is Mark Sargent. I was kidding, and it's Mark holding everybody up. He's doing the Germany thing.
Let's pull him in.
Yeah. We are starting, everybody. We are starting. Everybody, come on here. There's a birthday party in here.
I say you look like Phil Collins.
Phil Collins. I don't care anymore. Come on. Check, check. Okay. All right. Can we shut the doors now? Thank you. All right. It is a great pleasure. When Robbie asked me, I started doing some things a while back, doing some audio video stuff for this thing, so we could have cool graphics and just make this thing look really network and pop, because you guys all deserve it. A lot of you traveled a very long way, and we thank you. But when I found out that our next speaker was going to be here, I was like, no way. And I started looking more of his stuff up, and I was like, whoa. And I really, truly believe that you all are going to be very surprised if you have not seen him speak, and if you're not familiar with what he's going to do. But you're in for a wonderful treat. So please welcome all the way from Argentina, and thank you for helping getting him here, because it's been a wonderful experience for him, I'm sure. But meeting him yesterday, here's how humble this guy is. When I first got here, or got up the next day, I saw this guy,
and I'm going to be honest. I saw this guy sitting in this chair with a blanket over him, crashed out in the lobby. Never complained about anything, but they kind of had a mess up with his room or waiting for his room or whatever. He didn't say a word. I find out later, I was like, should I put a cup down there and people can start putting money in this thing for this guy? And then I got a decent look at him, but I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. And then all of a sudden when he got up and he's walking around, I'm like, wait a minute, he looks familiar. And he comes up, hi, I'm Iru. I'm like, Iru Landucci. He's like, yeah. The guy didn't even eat for over 24 hours. He never said a word to anybody. Just humble, just hanging out. And now I'd just like to bring him to the stage because he's, like I said, he came a long way from home. And we really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Really do. So, welcome. This is Iru Landucci.
Thank you for the presentation. Okay. I'm a little nervous. Maybe you noticed that. Well, first of all, thanks to everybody to be here. It's a pleasure. It's a dream come true for me. Be in this conference, I think the first one in the last 12,000 years, because I don't think there is any before. So it's an honor to represent the thoughts and the feelings of the Spanish language people, because this is also a reality in that kind of part of the world. So I hope you like my presentation. Maybe you're going to notice that I am forget some words or some kind of that stuff. So I like to start. I bring. Could you put the slide? Okay. That one for if I don't have any people to introduce me. So I bring my. I used to be a fan of Star Wars, so I have my saber laser to, to save the world. So I'm going to start with the general approach. I have a lot of slides, so maybe I don't have the time to cover everyone. But well, I'm going to try to do the best. So I shut it down. Perfect. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. There is. Well, my name, as you may know it, is Iru Landucci. I have 36 years old. I born in La Plata. It's a city near to Buenos Aires. I work like a visual effect technical director from 20 years. And I also I am a motion graphic designer, so that is my background on professional work. And as a researcher, I am since 12 years that I be aware that the government is not what they tell us, so and start to research the New World Order. And 4 years ago, I come approach with the flat Earth reality, so that's blown my mind, and I am 24 hours studying the flat Earth things. So I have my own radio show in my country, and I'm also studying shamanic medicine. If anybody doesn't know what it is, I really recommend you. And I'm also a specialist in rituals and symbols and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to also present that kind of things. This is my YouTube channel. It's a very small channel with 30,000 people following the channel. All, of course, the majority is Spanish language, but I have my hangout with other persons around the world, of course, with Globebusters, with Bob, with Cheran. I also have my hangout with Santos Bonacci, with Antonio Subirat, so I learned a lot from these guys, so I really appreciate that the opportunity that they give me to be part of the wave. And for me, everything is my objective, because I am a guy who have their own talk show and things like that. So my objective with the Flat Earth was trying to get out of the YouTube box and trying to present to real people and trying to put in the media and use the same weapons that they use against us. So to that was the idea. So I have very lucky because a very famous actor in Argentina called Gaston Pauls, who make even a movie here in Hollywood called Antibody. Is that movie? Okay, my laser goes down. Perfect. Star Wars power. This movie he make here in Hollywood, and Hollywood also make a remake of his movie called Nine Queens, but here called Criminal. So he is a very famous person in Argentina, and also a Star Wars fan. But he come aware of the flat earth, so he changed their mind, and he gave me the opportunity in his radio show to present to the audience the flat earth reality. So as soon as I make that, the newspaper in Argentina start to make fun of the eccentric people that still believe the earth is flat, you know, that kind of heading. So after that radio talk show, I'm start to participate in other radio shows from Argentina, very important radio shows and TV programs and things like that. So the movement started to grow very quickly thanks to Gaston Pauls. So the things reach even a point that the university of my city, the University of Geophysics and Astronomic Science, he make a letter and sent to the TV program where I was participate to trying to shoot me down, instead of sending some guy to refute me or show why the Earth is a sphere. So that is the kind of procedure that they use. So how I can be a flat earther, how I become a flat earther? Well, for me, the most things was the more important thing was this kind of stuff. Of course, you are going to know what I'm talking about. It's this kind of stuff. My friend.
If I say that the world is round and someone else says it's flat,
it's a combination.
Some of these folks were around when Columbus set sail. They must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Let me just underscore, you don't need to be a scientist to know that the Earth is round.
And we need to make clear that those members of the Flat Earth Society,
The current members of the Flat Earth Society in Congress.
We got some people at high levels of aspiration who are the Flat Earth. We have Flat Earth Caucus.
The Earth isn't flat. In other breaking news, the world is round, not flat.
And you don't need to be a scientist.
and we need, as responsible leaders, to take account of science.
So we prepared a contingency communications procedure, and guess what? We don't need that anymore.
There should be a legitimate debate between whether the Earth is round or flat, because after all, any idiot can walk outside and see that it's flat.
Is NASA lying to us?
Well, for me that was the beginning, because I started asking me myself why these people are trying to say that the world isn't flat. What's going on? We are in 2015, so why is there this debate out there? So that was the starting point to start research, and I came across with few things that caught my attention. For example, one informed American thinks that the sun goes around the Earth. Surveys says that, and one in third Russian guy thinks the same. So you have 400 million of people here, so 100 million people is a lot of people. So I assume that in that range of people there is going to be engineering, astronomers, astrophysics, regular people. So that can be that people that can be nuts and crazy. So I'm starting to try to understand why they think that the suns revolve around the Earth and not the other way. So I'm going to go a little inside the rabbit hole, so like the title of David Weiss' YouTube channel. So in my country, we are totally under the control of the Freemasonic, Jesuit orders and Zionist agenda, like you are also here. You can recognize because that this is Washington, but this is Buenos Aires. We have the Eyes of Horus when you see from the top in the principal capital city. We have the obelisk, and this is my city. My city is is exactly equal to Washington. In fact, it's one of the most Masonic cities in my country. So I have to live with, a lot of symbolic every day that when I walk around my city. So, of course, there is a symbolic meaning behind the obelisk, and that is why they use now to try to penetrate the Mother Earth, the Osiris fault. That is the symbolic thing that why they use this kind of rockets. It's all about the worship in the sun. I have in my city, I have an observatory, a planetary, and of course the Jesuit orders, present all the day. In fact, the thing came also, for example, the police guys in the Buenos Aires uses symbols like the Aleister Crowley Lodge and things like that, and of course nobody understands why they use this kind of laws. We have the most Jesuit person in the world, which is the Pope, and this is the Pope when he was young, using a Black Sabbath, Black Saturday T-shirts. So you can see the background of this guy. In my city, we have the museum. Of course, the museum is also running by Jesuit. They preach like Darwin, they are putting on the walls, and of course they have when you enter to the museum, you have all the culture to Egyptians, culture Egyptians. So you have present in every aspect of the life, and of course we have lodge, Masonic lodge, and the funny thing is when you enter into the Masonic lodge, they asking for faith to science, which is in the own lima, or the own words inside. This is a big picture of this part of the image, and here it says faith in science. And when you start to research, you understand why they put faith in everything that present us, because it's the only way you can believe it, this kind of thing. So that is why they ask for the initiations to pay faith. And when you start to research, you come across that every hero in the science history is all Masonic, everyone. There is no even one. Of course, this kind of guy never exists, that are fairy tale stories, but the people that maybe exist, they don't even have the real name. For example, Newton is a symbolic name to new aton, which means new sun. And that is why he used names like Isaac, because it's the action of Isis for the new sun. So when you're starting to research, all the names have a symbolic meaning. I don't have time to go each one, but you can see how they use the symbol in every aspect. Of course, the NASA guys, I think they are the most experts in do all kind of stuff with involve symbolic things, right? And yeah, here we have the extreme symbolic thing with the Baphomet tattoos in his arm. So the NASA is full of this kind of symbolic things. So, for example, this is a guy of an astronaut from Brazil, and he's also in Masonic Lodge. Of course, everyone see how they loud of us, no? The mocking. They even have they have also the patents and the credentials to be Masonic. So there's nothing new on that kind of thing. But when you start to see, for example, the supposedly real scientists, you start to notice that they are all founded by Jesuits and by Jewish people, bankers. And if you go back in time, you're going to see that the Jesuit order at the beginning of the 15th century also was founded by the Orsini, the Medici. So it's all the same. It's a fractal of the past in our days. And of course, when you, for example, start to understand that the Big Bang theory is not created by a science, but is created by the priest, you need to ask yourself what's going on here, because if I'm going to go to the science, why is all the time intervened by religious people? So you start to realize that even Einstein could detect that the Earth is moving. No one, because of course it's not moving. That is why they can detect it, but there is nothing new also in that. And of course they have, for example, this is a wall in European Agency Space. So you can see how all this connection goes really deep. We have Jean-Luc Picard with Werner von Braun. Before they say, okay, this is the limit, the sky is the limit. And you can see the connection with the Disney family, and today's the Disney family is Pixar, so they make a lot of computer animation. And then, for example, the books that they sell into the young people in the 50s is the same that they sell today. So it's a fractal all the time. You can see how they mock us all the time with the Disney face in everywhere. And of course they have the Walt Disney educational media company. So that is a little strange. You can see, for example, in the beginning of the 60s how they prepared the community to accept the moon landing, and how Monsanto is in conjunction with Walt Disney creating the Inner Space Adventure, for example. This is totally brainwashed. There are a lot of videos speaking with that. Of course, in that time, Disney History Institute, no educational media center. Even some kind of other programming, Julio Verne, which is a Masonic guy, he prepared the people for accepting the dinosaurs, the earth, the core of the earth, the moon landing, and a lot of other things. But in his book, he used a flat horizon, you know. A little strange, my friend. Sorry, because some slides I don't have time to translate, so you're going to learn a little bit of Spanish in real time. So we have also, we can see also, for example, the rituals inside the founder of NASA, like Jack Parsons. They don't even hide. Wikipedia himself tell us that he was an Ordo Templis Orientis, which is a disciple of Aleister Crowley. They make pornography about the rockets, because that is very useful to enter inside the mind using feelings. So sexual feeling is a very powerful feeling to brainwash. And when we talk about that NASA have actors participating inside the space, not the engineering outside that work in other kind of stuff, it's because they are really actors. They even have credentials like actors. No, it's not a joke. They are really actors. And of course, they have also exchange acting, because they like to dress like a Jesuit sometimes. They use pre-programming, characters. So this kind of stuff is really, it goes really deep to trying to brainwash us. And when you're trying to find some real scientists on the media television, you also notice that they are actors, because they are actors. So you can see how the clothes that they use has also symbolic symbols, worshiping the sun. And for example, something that caught my attention was in this clip of the Curiosity landing. Look at that technology, it's amazing. And you can see here this guy. This guy, when I see this guy the first time, I say, hey, this is Snowden? It's real Snowden? So I don't know, I can't tell you, yes, 100% he's Snowden, but he's really have the similarity. So maybe he's also an actor. That is why Russia never, Russia and the United States, a friend in space with China, In Antarctica and the space, there are no war. A real strange thing. So, of course, they are all controlling by the media. These are channels, broadcasting channel of my country, and also they use the 666, the Eye, the Sun, the Jesuit Sun, etc., etc., etc. And of course, they have that important because the nervous system manipulation is controlling by the electromagnetic fields, which is a monitor. And look, the face of that woman is very happy seeing the monitor there. So they have, all planning. And for example, this is the history of astronautic in Argentina. You can see the checkerboard Masonic. You can see the Jesuit in the beginning of the 60s. What the fuck are he's doing there? It's a really strange thing, right? Because, and all the kind of independence investigation about the aerospace was finished in the beginning of the 90s by the President Menem, because the Terrence Todman, the ambassador from America, come to my country and say, okay, you're going to close your agency space and we're going to help you. And that is why we mock him. In fact, the Menem was the first guy to propose what Elon Musk is proposing today, a flight that, in 4 hours you can be in any part of the world because underneath the Earth is rotating. So that was the Todman was said to my president at that time, and this president was selling all Argentina, really crazy. And of course, we have our satellites here, for example, and we need to pay $260 million to repair in the 90s. So I think someone goes up in the space, take the satellite, go down, repair, and then put it back again. But we pay. So there you can see a little bit of the kind of stuff that how. Okay. Sorry, I need to go. I really need to go fast because it's not like I'm going to end. So, but we are not alone. That is something that I became aware when you started, start to think in other kind of scientists out there that really make the things. They give the experiments to us to try to prove that the Earth is stationary. So everyone knows the Michelson-Morley experiment, the Sagnac experiment. For example, the Foucault pendulum. When I become aware, thanks to Mr. Hiban Thrive and Survive, I can't remember the names of the channel, with the alias effects. This is the alias effects proven by University of Spain. You have the pendulum clock, just go back and forward. So what's happened? The Earth was stopped in that moment. So that is the kind of things that the regular people try to use to debunk the movement of the Earth or things like that. And of course, we have Spanish people creating and writing books about that the Earth is not moving, and of course, some science portal take that notice and try to, to put out there for the regular people. And of course, our universe is totally electrical. That is no doubt about it. You have a lot of guys today speaking about that. For example, this is experiment made by the Thunderbolt project guys who recreate geophysic terraforming based on electricity with granite, with granite, and you can see how the moon, for example, the crater of the moon, there are no trails to the meteorite impacts, so there are all perpendicular impacts here also. So you can notice that how in lab they can reproduce this with electricity. So there is no doubt that our world is completely electrical. Of course, if you want, you can send some meteors. I forget to show the meteor shower based on electrical forces, sorry. But if you want some artificial meteorite, you can buy it to a company who send you to your garden, to your backyard. Of course, we have the sprites, for example. This is a lot of study, and if you can look here, look the limit. This is in the top of the atmosphere, so you can see the limit, and the electricity can go up because our atmosphere is composed by a lot of gases, but one of those gases, which is the hexafluoro gas, this gas is shooting down all electricity, doesn't have any color, it doesn't have any, it's the helium-free type of liquid up there, so that is why they can go out, even the own electricity. And we have that kind of things that determine this is a symbolic, because this is the real serpent of the knowledge. The aurora borealis have that energy that, it's when you close your eyes and make some wishes, you also trying to find your black sun, because the black sun is the real manifestation sun. The white sun is for give energy, but the manifestation properties come from the dark if you wanted to see in that way. If you press your eyes, you're going to see also like little sparks, green color, blue color. So that is the real power inside our system to manifestate and create reality. That is why they use, you can see here, this is the aurora borealis, this is the moon, and this is the white sun and the black sun. It's all a system. It's nothing, it's not the black sun, it's not the bad sun. That is what they tell.
Good afternoon. My name is.
Sorry. That is what they tell to us to, to get away of that kind of knowledge. But the real knowledge is that there is nothing out there in our planet that is bad. All is a system, very balanced. There are equilibrium. We have Don Scott, for example, talking about the electrical sun.
My name is Don Scott. The electric sun is a sort of a natural outgrowth of the electrical universe hypothesis. We know that there are magnetic fields.
Well, I just, sorry for the audio interruption, but if you want to see more about the electric sun and that kind of stuff, you can search for your own Don Scott explanations.
There seems to be a new model,
because
or at least another patch.
The geocentric model is fall apart. It's not have any kind of sense how they did, how they tell us that works. This term of fusion, nuclear reaction, that kind of stuff.
And I would like to
it's like talking about angels, things like that. And some engineers and some guys, they know that this is a little trick, so they start to speak in conference in Europe, and they are doing a great job to trying to give another kind of information. So, for example, you can see this is, for example, what time is it? You may think that this is the midday or the afternoon. Can you put play, please? So if you compare this is a lighting. If the light comes from a lighting, so the sun have the same properties to give us light. So I don't know if can you put play? There is. So it's a lighting storm. So that is why the cameras need to make a white balance anytime they film outside, because we have that, that light blue enter into the lens, because it's electrical light. Of course, if you put fire beside the plant is just going to die and dry. But if you put a lighting bulb beside the plant is going to grow up. And all our body, the molecules, the ADN in our bodies, all is electrical. So that is why we need the sunlight. Of course, if you compare, for example, lighting arcs with the so-called flares, sun flares, you're going to see very quickly that it's more like electrical than fire. So, of course, we have guys like Faraday, Gauss, Hertz, Ampere, a lot of scientists of the 18th centuries who discovered this kind of energy. And today we have the plasma, what they call, they don't want to recognize that this is for the ether, because the ether is eternal, it's all is the ether. There is no ether. That is why the sound, the energy, the electromagnetic field can fly. We come here. Of course, we have even people about NASA to complain about the Big Bang theory that never happened. That is why, when you start to realize, look at this guy, Halton Harp, with the Tesla invention, trying to give the hint of the universe is electrical. The Big Bang is just another fairy tale history. And you notice why these guys are so, persecuted, because this is what happened. The Jesuits and the Jews control all the science, educations, health, everything. So when you are a real scientist and you start to see how these people are really inside of all the science, you piss off, of course. We have the limits, Ushuaia, called the end of the world. And I ask myself, why is it going to be the end of the world if it's a sphere? That doesn't have any sense. But if you are looking in the Gleason map and you see Antarctic, and we are the most country beside Antarctic, that is why Ushuaia is called the end of the world. Some guys say, okay, what happened with the water? What is the edge and that kind of stuff? And there are people that realize that the Antarctic is the most highest continent in the world. The Antarctic, when you enter to the coast of Antarctic, very soon it's going to rise up 2,500 meters, promenade of the continent. So that is why the balloons very quickly go up the clouds. You can see the NASA balloon with the flat horizon in the Antarctic. So where is the curve? That's something that need to, pay attention to this kind of thing. So that is why when you talk about the wall of Antarctic, there isn't any wall because the iceberg that floating around on the water, that's just iceberg. The real wall is because this rise up 2,500 meters. And of course the technology of the human race is very far away from the technology of the creation, so we can penetrate the Antarctic. That is the real thing. So they keep it totally controlled with military bases, with treatments and that kind of stuff. And all the circumnavigations around the world was made west to east, so you don't have other, other choice. Of course, the land inside the Antarctic is also a real great place to fake Mars. I don't know, maybe. This is a guy from NASA telling us that, and there is no audio, but he's telling, okay, this surface is the better to test our machines if anytime we're going to go to the Mars. So you can see how the things start to connect. And let me keep going. I have 15 minutes left. So, for example, this is by Argentina expeditions trying to pass, to make a trip in Groenlandia, which is the Arctic. And this is just what they do. They can go inside the Groenlandia, the Greenland, So you can start to see the limits. This is, for example, an abandoned base from the Cold War. So they don't have any interest, and maybe I think they take away the attention from Arctic because there is maybe the real, paradise, Shambhala, Agartha, etc., etc., etc. So they can allow to enter there because they are like demons. So they go to the Inverno, to the cold areas. And that cold areas are, of course, the Antarctic, but I don't think that nobody can access right away to the Arctic. So they distract us showing these things in Antarctic. Of course, everybody knows the super deep Kola hole. That is the limit to going down, 12 kilometers. Even the ExxonMobil trying to reach a more deep on the ground, but they can do it. It's a lot of information about this studying. We can put audio, please, for this one. I don't know why it's not audio. Okay, I'm going to put it again. This is very important. The audio?
There's a section of abyssal plain, a kind of flat line.
This is from Yale University, and when he teaches to the...
all the deep blue is abyssal plain.
So this is abyssal plain, go down deep 5 kilometers, and all this is flat. So all this blue is flat. And this is the abyssal plain. Look here, Africa to South America, totally flat. How 1,000 kilometers are there? So what is the curve underwater, So, of course, this guy is not teaching flat earth, but when you start to see these details in the regular, studies, you can see how the things start to... of course, anyone who knows maybe the submarine that can go down in the Marianas underwater zone. I'm going quickly because I don't going to finish the presentation. So that's are the limit. This is the guy who dies, who filming the underwater limit, died on the accident of helicopters in Australia. Really strange. So after all, the water is always level. We have, for example, the city of Venezia, who have 400 square kilometers totally at the sea level, for example. I don't know, you can try to find any example of a cool water, you're going to find none. So if you start to thinking and okay, at what altitude you need to use to see the curve, you can do it by the Pythagorean method, by Samuel Robson method, by Bhaskara, the Indian mathematician's method. You can find the same result. Of course, this is not really accurate, but for the thousands of kilometers, it's really a good measurement. So when you're trying to ask even like Google, the Scientist magazine is going to tell you that at 20 kilometers, the curve of the Earth is totally perceptible and no doubt. So when you start to see balloons and rocket launches, these are rocket launches compilation, and these are balloon compilations, and it's flat. You know, there is not any curve. Some of this video has a lens correction, of course, because they are with GoPro, and it's all the time is flat, and then there is no any curve out there. And of course, the physics and the optics is going to tell us that with the camera, the range of the visible of the camera of the human eyes is going to end, obviously, is going to end in a circular limitation. That is what we call angle of view. If you're talking about angles, you're talking about circular things. So this is the most far away that the camera can capture the lights, but sometimes you're going to see flat, sometimes you're going to be like circular, but very far away to see a curve. And we're talking about 120 kilometers in that kind of video. And look at this balloon. From this point to this point, you can see thousands of kilometers. Look at the real clouds mixing and changing. That's something never shows in the ISS. The ISS is always the cloud totally stick, never moves, nothing like that. And we had time lapse about 6 hours because they need 6 hours to move a robotic arm, and the clouds never change. So you can start to compare real stuff with tricks about Hollywood tricks using by trick people. So, of course, we have another kind of limit to test the limits with the operations, military operation via USA and via Russia, and both reach the same limit of 8,000 kilometers, 80 kilometers, sorry. And maybe some of these explosions are fake or are, composite, but they use symbolic name to try to get out, the Thor, the hammer of the Thor, to try to break the glass. And you can see some explosion that take the form of donuts because they can go up, because it's all this pressure of the atmosphere. So look, if that explosion can go up, I don't think a rocket can get out. And this is the gas that I'm talking about. This is a really interesting topic. I don't have time to show you, but have in mind, this gas is 5 times more dense than the air, and this gas has a presence of 3,200 years each time a volcano make eruption, for example. So can you imagine that how much of this gas is up there? It's a lot of gas. So you can see how they trick us. For example, this is our rocket launches. You can see the rocket launches is all the time. If you see for a really long perspective, you can see how the rocket go in a straight line. Of course, if you are in the place, you're going to see how, for example, this is a view for a frontal view. You can see how the rocket comes into the view. Down, you can see how the rocket go far away in this arc motion. But when SpaceX and these guys trying to show how they're going to put an orbit, a satellite orbit, they are in this mode. They go in a straight line. And I'm waiting for the video to reach. So if you see, for example, this is from a balloon, this is from a plane, and this is from the ground, and this is from the camera on the rocket. This is from the CRS-7 from SpaceX, and that is the rocket trying to get out. I don't know where, because there is a lot of land to try to go off the curve. And here you can see the flat horizon and how this rocket is traveling in a straight line, simply as that. So if you compare with, for example, the power of a telescope, if you put in horizontal line, you're not going to see more than 50 kilometers. So when they're pointing up there, drop away the principal booster and that kind of stuff, that rocket is at least at 60 kilometers, no more. So that is they need to cut off the video and put some Google Earth animation and that kind of stuff. These rocket launches, they don't reach more than 40, 50 kilometers at Mach. And there is a company called Flightline, a real strange name, who has this telescope to filming, and if you enter to the web page, they can reach with this camera more than 20, 30 kilometers. So that at that point, this spacecraft is supposedly 20,000 kilometers per hour to escape the gravitational force. It's really a crazy thing. So the limits maybe could be 100 to 250 kilometers going up. The sides is the limit by the Antarctic perimeter, the center is the Arctic, and down we have also 12 to 50 kilometers. That is the most thing that we can do in, material war. In the spiritual war, maybe you can go a little more far away. 6 minutes. So I'm going to pass really quickly these ones. Sorry for, if you like, after the presentation, you can ask me for anything you want. So, because I am computer animation, I used to work for History Channel, for UNESCO and other companies, and they asked to my studio to make a lot of things about the space, satellites, spherical world, that are my portfolio. At that time, of course, I didn't know that this is all a lie. Everyone knows that the all-eye composite is CGI. Everybody knows that even the own NASA tell us that it must be Photoshop because they don't have any other chance. And they fake all this kind of stuff, not just for the spherical Earth. They also use CGI to present us the star field, the galaxy, the new planet that discover every week. That is a really amazing things. We have Robert Hart working by NASA, trying to, and they show the things. We have the friendship companies working together, like Adobe with the pyramid in the logo, or Autodesk with the pyramid in the logo, or Microsoft with the pyramid inside Micro and Soft. And you can see how these families work together to trick us. This is, for example, a little Earth that I made myself in a few couple of hours in the 3D Studio Max. You can see I can use this as a background for any kind of video. So it's very easy to create this kind of stuff. And of course, the first images or the supposedly photographs, because one thing is a photograph, another thing is an image. Image comes from imagination, and photograph is supposedly to be real objects. The first one are these ones. But how they make it at that time, because at that time there is no CGI, of course. So they use matte painting. This is a very common technique used in Hollywood called matte painting. Of course, in our days it's digital matte painting. But you can see, for example, even the patents of the method. This is a patent from 1905, very long time ago, how they use on NASA to painting the Earth, then they painting the clouds, and they filming, and there you go, your non-CGI moon landing and other kind of stuff at that decade. So you have all the patterns, how they, of course they tell it's a simulator, but when you compare to reality, it's really, it's like the reality. You have this guy was the Rochelle Hayward was the guy who made the miniatures for the moon landing, and he works with Walt Disney, and he also is an alchemist. He believes in ether. This is a book from this guy. He created the projection screen that they use also Stanley Kubrick in the fake moon landing. So you can see how these families work together. They also have even, apparatus and method for simulating spacecraft erosion. So they have all the simulations for faking everything. And why in the past the images looks more realistic? Because they use miniatures. and they photograph the miniature. So that is more realistic than today, because today we need to lead with CGI. The only problem is that it's very difficult to emulate the reality, the light bounces and that kind of stuff. So in the past it was more easy because they just photograph real objects and then composite with matte painting. So when you start to see the method using, you start notice the method like self-locomotion system, which is impossible to predict a behavior, a physics behavior before you go to the moon landing in the lab. And when you start to compare, you're going to see the same kind of behavior. So that's a crazy thing. Nobody can believe that this guy, the dust is falling in real time, and the guy is trying to stay up. You know, if you go down like this, it's really, you know, if you start to compare the things, you're going to notice that there is a lot of inconvenient thing. We have the Gatsby plane, and the pattern of the Gatsby plane is for reduced gravity conditions airplane. So this is a huge plane to emulate whatever environment inside of this plane. I don't say that this is 100% the ISS, but you have space there to fake a little things. And of course, if you start to compare with other methods, the magician of this guy is also Freemasonic, so they work together. When you start to see you start to compare the method of the astronaut, you're going to realize that when they go live, they use you know, harnesses. Here you have the patent. This guy is stuck trying to make this. Yeah. This guy is falling down quickly, and it's really, you know, I make computer animation, so I know how this is doing, how they doing this. So for me, it was, you know, I never see it before. That is why I never wake up to this reality. But they use all the kind of trick that they it's amazing. I have more material, but my time's run out. So the last thing, for example, we can see, yeah, no, there are totally clowns. You can see here, why is a gorilla, you know, in the space, and that kind of things. This is very, you know, that's one of my favorites, because here you can see really that how they touch the wires, and you know, there is and this guy, for example, why they pick up a baseball in the space to distract us from see this woman who is, you know, pulling by the cable. So they can replicate everything they want in CGI, in zero-G planes, and it's very, you know, it's very easy for it to trick us. I get out time, but well, the control remote is not working anymore. So the last thing, the last two minutes, please. For example, Google Earth is made by world-class Bexel camera aerogrid systems. They mapping all the Earth with planes, and if you compare, for example, with the method using in satellite, you will notice that this is real and this is a joke, because this is a world-class system. They have this kind of company all around the plane. So they synchronize all the informations, and that is why they make, you know, that is all controlled by CIA. All the images that they took, they need to supervise by the other agency before putting on the public. So we have the drone technology. It's very easy in those days to fake the things. Of course, they construct the satellites, but they put it up in the balloon, and the rest is the fiber optics, ionosphere bouncing. So there is very, very, you know, when you see those white point up there in the sky, if you start to compare, are balloons. Of course, at this altitude, for example, you can see the equipment of the satellite, and this little point is the real big equipment. And look at 50 kilometers, you don't able to see anymore, and these balloons rise up to 40 kilometers because sometimes they use super pressure balloons. So there is no any satellite up there in orbit. Yes, there is hanging on the balloons and things like that. So I need to go. My time go out. Thanks for listening. Thanks.
He can come over and visit you at your house. You can call.
I'm a queen. Okay. I'm gonna make it special in the night if you want. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
A long way.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks to everyone.
Iru Landucci. Iru.
Okay. Yes. I'm still nervous.
Thanks for coming to our
I
country,
told
man.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Love ya.
I told you. How many of you have seen him speak before? Anybody?
Fantastic, buddy.
How many of you were blown away?
Yeah, buddy.
Thanks a lot.
Good job.
All right. I've got to make this quick. I've got to make this
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. Okay. I don't have time.
His mic's still hot. We all heard you, Cammie. We all heard that. I'm just teasing. I really didn't hear it. But no disclaimer needed. This next guy. Everybody stand up real quick. Just stand up for me, please. Sorry. Stretch out a little bit, because we got to get right into this. I want you to stretch out. Matter of fact, turn around, shake the hands with somebody around you, kind of like something we used to do at church back in the day. Greet each other. Say hello. Great hugs, high fives. Good to see you, man. Josie, I'm glad you made it, brother. I'm glad you made it. It's good to see you again. All right. All right, here we go. Find your seats. Don't pick them, just find them. Sit in the same spot. All right. So our next speaker, he's got to use every second that he's got on this clock. Trust me, he's got a lot to go over. Sorry? Oh, they're testing. He's got to use every second that he's got, and it's worth it. I'm telling you. I'm wearing the shirt. How many of you saw the little Chicago skyline thing that we did? This is interesting. And some of you, my name is Rick Hummer. I'm from northern Indiana. I grew up 20 minutes from this launch site where Rob and I went. Long story short, the reason why Rob and I went to this was because I could see Chicago growing up all the way across the lake. I actually got kicked out of class when I was 12 years old because I told my teacher when we were doing these tests that I could see Chicago. They said, no way, go to the office, quit being, and I didn't shut up, trust me, I just kept going. And I was called a liar basically, and I basically said, well, you can call my dad a liar. He was with me, and that's when I went to the office. The principal takes me back to class because the principal had seen the same thing that I had seen. You can see Chicago across Lake Michigan. Okay? I told Rob that. Rob is the one that got me involved in this. I told Rob that. I said, you can see, he goes, no way. Yes. That'd be cool. We got to do this test. It took us a year, but this Skyline shirt, the night that we started discussing this is not a joke. This is how I believe that the Most High works. He's got a sense of humor. The night that we discussed this pretty in depth, that night I called Rob and said, you're not going to believe this, dude. Our local weather guy just tried to say that Chicago is a mirage. This is from my market, my TV market. I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't write this stuff. This happened. So a year later, this guy comes up to Indiana, we do this thing, and without further ado, a guy that I love dearly, and I'm just so thankful that I know him and all these speakers and all you guys that I've gotten to meet. But Rob Skiba is one of us, and I just love you, brother. Come on up and do your thing. And guess what? Guess what? It's not a mirage. Not a mirage. Not a mirage.
It's not a mirage. All right, we can hit go on the PowerPoint and the timer. I'm going to do my best here. And we have PowerPoint. All right, very good. All right, welcome to the mother that gave birth to the motherlode of all conspiracies, and probably the deepest rabbit hole I've ever been in, for sure. Just want to say thank you if the PowerPoint will work. Doesn't seem to be working here. Boom. Boom. There we go. So I got to point it at the monitor, I guess, huh? Thank you guys for your love, for your prayers, for your support. It has meant more to me than I could possibly ever express in words. So just please accept those two simple words right there, thank you. Because I have 96 slides, I have 90 minutes, and 36 of those are video. So I hope you're ready to listen fast, because I'm ready to speak fast and turn on the fire hose. All right, I've titled my presentation, April 15th, 2015, The Day Mark Sargent Ruined My Life. No, not really. The actual title of the presentation is Testing the Globe, Why Do You Believe What You Believe? My goal with this presentation is not so much to try to convince anybody that the earth is flat, although most of you are probably already convinced of that. My goal is to get you to question why you believe what you believe. Because that's basically the question that Mark Sargent asked me on April 15th, 2015. Thank you. On April 13th, I listened to an interview that he did with Canary Cry Radio, Basil and Gons, a couple of guys that I enjoy listening to. I had to go do my taxes, and it's an hour and a half drive to my accountant's office. And so I thought, I'm going to listen to something. It's an hour and a half drive. So I looked for some podcasts to download. I downloaded their podcast, Mark Sargent, Flat Earth. I'm like, this must be like a April Fool's joke or something. So I listened to it, and in the beginning of it, I'm rolling my eyes. This is crazy. This is stupid. But the time I got to my accountant's office, I'm going, shoot, that guy kind of made a little bit of sense. Could barely focus the whole time I was there. So I got to listen to that again. Listen to it again on the way home. And of course, he referenced his Flat Earth clues, so I immediately started watching the videos. I watched the Flat Earth clues, and that was April 13th and April 14th. April 15th, I called him up because he's got his phone number there, right? Everybody's sharing the same story. And I had him on my radio show April 15th. And if you've heard that show, you know that I was very much in favor of the Neil Adams expanding globe theory. I was hardcore on that. And I don't remember if it was on the air or if it was at some point after we got off the air. But Mark said, yeah, I get it. Okay, you believe the Earth's a globe. Cool. Prove it. But do so without using NASA, the government, or the military. How many of you think the government's 100% trustworthy? Anybody? Insert crickets. How many of you know the military answers to the government? And that goes for every nation, not just the United States. So we already acknowledge that the government is not trustworthy. It's not a trustworthy source. What about NASA? Think they're a trustworthy source? And one of the things Mark said is one thing about Flat Club is you don't talk about Flat Club. Well, as soon as you first hear about this, that's all you can talk about, right? So I started looking into all these things, and when I look at that date, April 15th, 2015, I remember the days when I was a NASA fanboy, and I thought that Star Trek painted a reasonable picture of the future. And the phrase, where no man has gone before, had a different meaning than it does for me now. Back in the sweet bliss of ignorance, before I knew the things that I know today, and before, several hundred trolls decided to wake up every morning and assault every single thing I say on social media. Those were the good old days before them. Well, those days are gone, so we're going to talk about my journey here today. A quest for truth. Who am I, first of all? All right, well, first and foremost, I am a believer in and a follower of Yeshua, also known as Jesus Christ. Thank you. He defines my being, and I try to do everything I can to please him. I am a filmmaker by trade and a researcher by hobby. Although in the last few years they've kind of switched. I've done a whole lot more of the researching type of stuff than I have the filmmaking, but that's about to change. I'm about to switch gears and go back in the filmmaking side of things again. And at least according to some, I'm a evil shill by accusation, apparently on the payroll of the Illuminati. So if somebody can help me, though, I'm really trying to get a hold of the accounting department because for some reason the checks haven't been coming. So if somebody can help me out with that, that would be awesome. All right, some of the things that influenced my life. Well, first of all, my parents. I have amazing parents. They just celebrated their 50th anniversary. How cool is that in today's society? I was raised in a Christian home. My dad was a Baptist minister when I was a kid. They taught me the Bible and brought me to church. That's why I came to know Yeshua at age 7. And like I said, I've been trying to serve him ever since. Also, when I was 7 years old, I saw this movie. Star Wars, right? When that ship came overhead, whew, man, I was in. Totally. And within a year, I made a public declaration. I said, I will either be an astronaut, a movie star, or a filmmaker by the time I'm 30. And the reason I said that is because, not that I had a death wish or anything, I said I would either be those things by the time I was 30 or I'd be dead. It wasn't that I had a death wish, it's just that I'm a very passionate person, and I go after the things that I believe. And my thinking process was at age 8, when you think about 30, that's like, ooh, that's a long way. It would have to be because I was dead if I didn't achieve those things. So I set my sights, first of all, to be an astronaut. And Jim Irwin came to my little Baptist church in Chicopee, Massachusetts when I was a kid, and signed this picture of him allegedly on the moon. It said, Rob Skiba, reach for your dreams, aim high. And I did. I went into the Army, flew helicopters. My goal was to transition to flying jets. Once I had that down, I put my application in for NASA and all that. I was all about that. In fact, until very recently, that photograph was always right above my computer monitor, right in front of my face, just until like about a year ago. All right, so that was something that I was very passionate about. So let me just say that I went into this whole thing kicking and screaming. I didn't want to look at this, like many others probably. Now, let me just ask you something. How many of you would claim this book as your source for truth? Okay. I definitely do. I believe it is the divinely inspired Word of God, inspired by the Holy Spirit, written by men. Again, try to live my life by that. You notice that I didn't ask how many of you put your faith and trust in church or in religion, right? Now, if you look at that sign, you could kind of take it two different ways, couldn't you? Scripture says that pure and undefiled religion is that we take care of widows and orphans, right? And Yeshua had 2 commandments: love God and love your neighbors, right? And so you could look at that and say, that's right, the church, they love people who are hurting. Or, yeah, that's right, they love hurting people. That's what churches are all about. Absolutely. And sadly, it has been my experience that Christians have the only military that assembles its firing squad in a circle. And if you followed me at all on social media, you know that I'm usually somewhere in the middle of that. So if you have issues with religion, I'm with you. Okay? I am not about religion, I'm about a relationship. And that book shows you how to have that relationship. I've spent my entire life in that book. And when it comes to this subject, that's what got me in trouble. Because like it or not, I know there's some here that's going to disagree with me, that book is a flat earth book from Genesis to Revelation. It just is. And we'll cover that shortly. So, I've got several parts of this presentation. Part 1, taking a trip down the rabbit hole. What does that look like? Well, prior to coming into this research, I had already written several books, a few of which became Amazon bestsellers, and I had already been on the speaking circuit, traveling the world, talking about various subjects from government conspiracies to the Nephilim giants and things of that nature. And I actually really enjoyed being in the in crowd at one point, until I was promptly kicked out of it. And Robbie Davidson said something to me a while back, and I think he's absolutely right. He said, when it comes to this particular subject, you really have to kind of feel your audience out first and see, okay, where are they with 9/11? Okay, where are they with the moon landing? Especially those two. Because if they understand, if they've taken the red pill, so to speak, on especially those two subjects, then it's pretty easy to continue the discussion. If they believe the official story of either one of those, forget it, just walk away, talk about sports, whatever. So for those of you who maybe don't yet know what I'm talking about, I've prepared a little 6-minute clip, a video that's taken from a longer video that I have online from my Babylon Rising research regarding 9/11. So we'll use this as a primer. Audio? We need audio.
33 feet, comprised of 47 steel box columns ranging from 36 by 16 to 52 by 22 inches.
The story we were told. This rock-like steel grid gave way because fire warped the trusses, causing the bolts to fail. As the trusses sagged and fell, the floors dropped with them. In its 2002 documentary, Why the Towers Fell, PBS creates a video model.
Once the trusses failed, the floors they were holding cascade down with a force too great to be withstood. The result is what's called a progressive collapse, as each floor pancakes down onto the one below.
What remains standing? The tall, indestructible core. Why does PBS fail to explain the complete disappearance of the Twin Towers cores?
By that evening, eyewitnesses and experts alike were rushing to defend the official narrative of events, claiming that raging jet fuel fires melted the steel inside the Twin Towers.
I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just scream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Marlene Davis is the Dean of Architecture at the University of Tennessee. She calls the 110-story tall twin tower tube structures. That means there are no internal columns holding it up.
You know, when we saw this yesterday, people said, oh my goodness, there was a bomb on there. There must have been a bomb. There must have been a bomb below that finished the job. Well, it turns out we heard from experts who said that, you know what, the fire on those floors, probably 1,500 degrees. Steel can only withstand so much because the steel structure that holds the building up was on the outside, and essentially the building started to melt and it gave way and it toppled.
CBS's Jim Stewart in Washington has been tracking events all day and has the latest, Jim.
We are told rescue workers have recovered a passport and the debris that belonged to one of the dead hijackers.
Another development on Saturday, New York officials revealed at a news conference here in the city that a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
Well, Dan, not far from here, a passerby found the passport of one of the hijackers. Evidence this disaster scene is also a crime scene.
These passports are so magical and so wonderful that, like Gollum's ring, they call to you. They call to who they want to find them, but not a normal mortal. No. The ring calls out only to FBI agents.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September the 11th. Malicious lies that attempt to shift the blame away from the terrorists themselves, away from the guilty.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York. While in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon and the Budget Analyst Office where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC-7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. You will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever.
How ridiculous is the official story? After you finally wake up and realize, guess what? Your government can and does lie to you. It took me a while. I believed the official story just like everybody else. I didn't wake up till 2006. And if this is brand new for you, well, there's a little teaser. Time for you to get busy. It's 2017, folks. Okay? Time to wake up, especially on that deal. All right, so then fine. What about the Apollo moon landings? You know, I was a big NASA fanboy. We could spend a whole weekend just talking about this alone. We don't have time to, so I'll just recommend you check out these videos right here. A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon and Astronauts Gone Wild by Bart Sibrel. You need to check those videos out if you have not seen them. Of course, if you watch them on YouTube, lots of other videos will populate and you'll be, binge watching for weeks. And then this other video that recently came out, it's a movie that came out, and it's made to look like a documentary that was filmed back in the 60s. And it attempts to explain why would they do this? Why would they fake this in the first place? It's very well done, and the people who did that movie, I think it came out last year, clearly did their research. They had a little bit of everything sprinkled into that movie. But one of the things that really stood out to me that made the most sense, because when people hear what we're talking about here at this conference, they'll say, this is too big a conspiracy. There's no way. It can't possibly happen. How can all these people lie to us? And, no. Okay, first of all, compartmentalization solves most of that. Okay, but there was a scene in the movie, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact dialogue, but they were like, well, how are we going to convince everybody? How are we going to convince everybody that what we're trying to do is real? And one of the characters says, we don't need to convince everybody. We only need to convince Walter Cronkite. Because if he believes it, then all of his passion and zeal, and he's the trusted news source, attention media, everybody else is going to believe because he believes. You should watch the movie. Check it out. It's called Operation Avalanche. Yeah, sorry, my video is covering it up there. Operation Avalanche. All right, now thinking about the Apollo moon landings, Apollo 11 in particular, you know what area of the moon Apollo landed on? What part of the moon? Sea of Tranquility. Okay, Sea of Tranquility. Well, no, actually that's Arizona. That's where they blew up the desert of Arizona to make it look like the moon. You can actually go on Google Earth and still see that site today. In fact, I went there recently, checked it out for myself. You might have seen the video, Rob Skiba Walks on the Moon. A little freeze frame for you. I went there. Interesting when you start seeing pictures like this. Buzz Aldrin standing in front of that mountain range, right? Some say that may be Hawaii and not Arizona. I'm not sure. It looked like the same mountains that I saw in Arizona. Whatever the case may be, got your little astronaut down there walking in front of the same thing. Official NASA photograph. Still looking at other photographs like the Apollo 15 mission, where you've got this background and there's no lunar lander there, and then you have the exact same background, and all of a sudden, boom, the lander's there. As far as I know, they didn't have the ability to pick up and move that thing. It landed and that's it. They superimposed the two pictures right on top and the backgrounds match exactly. That's from Apollo 15. The same mission this picture came from, supposedly. Oh, and by the way, Jim Irwin, right? Good Christian guy. I hear, Scripture actually says that Satan appears as an angel of light. Paul also goes on to say that it should be no wonder then that his guys will also appear as ministers of righteousness. Oh, he's a Christian astronaut. So what? Somebody says that? That's like a politician finding Jesus on the campaign trail. I didn't know that Jesus was lost. Oh, yeah, every politician finds Jesus on the campaign trail. Convenient. Okay, we got Christian astronauts. Okay, that's between God and them. I don't know. I don't know if they are or not. But I'll tell you this, when I see a card-carrying Freemason claiming to be a Christian, I've checked out. Nope. Not with you, buddy. Sorry. And if you come back with the Genesis rock that comes back and refutes Genesis, yeah, I'm really going to question you. The Genesis rock, discovered by Jim Irwin and company, supposedly proves the Earth's 4.6 billion years or whatever the garbage is they're peddling. Contradicting the Genesis timeline. Same guy, same mission. Faulty backgrounds. You start messing around with some of this stuff, I don't think that they were counting on Photoshop when they published all these pictures from the 60s and 70s. Because you can bring these pictures in, and you can download them from the NASA websites, bring them in Photoshop, and you start seeing, I don't know if you can see it on the screen there, rectangular boxes around the Earth in the background there. Look at this the picture in the lower right here. I'll just adjust the contrast for you. Ooh, what is that? That's interesting. Huh. What about this picture right here? Ooh, that's a famous picture. Let's tweak the contrast and see what happens. Ooh. What's up with that? I did one, the most famous picture of the Earth that you've seen in every textbook was from Apollo, the last Apollo mission, Apollo 17. I'd go to Apollo 17 on the NASA website, I'd download that picture, did this live on a Google Hangout. I was talking with some guy, Josh Peck I think it was. We did it live on the air. I went to the website, NASA's website, went to the Apollo mission, went to that picture, downloaded it, adjusted it in Photoshop. I don't know if you can see it with the resolution there, but there's a rectangular box over the Earth. And this was just a few days before June 16th, 2015. Just a couple days prior is when I did that interview. Right after June 16th, some guys on Facebook said, hey, I want to go back to the website. Went back to the website. The website, probably can't read it there, but where the arrow is, it says that page was updated with a new picture. And if you download the new picture and adjust the contrast, all of a sudden you see stars and everything. Wow. How many astronauts said, oh, yeah, we didn't see any stars when we were up there? Oh, but the new Photoshop picture, you got stars but no box. Interesting. Why the heck were they in Antarctica prior to the moon landings looking for moon rocks? Look that up. Werner von Braun and company out there down in Antarctica looking for moon rocks. Okay, first of all, at that point we haven't even been to the moon yet. And it's not like you could find a rock, pick it up and go, oh, made on the moon. Cool. Let's put that over here. Made on Mars. Oh, that could go over here. We haven't been there yet. And we're supposedly in the middle of a space race with Russia, right? Oh, the Russians, they're up there and they're big. We got to beat the Russians. Hey, let's take a vacation down to Antarctica right in the middle of the race. Some of you know about my trip to Amsterdam. I go to Amsterdam, and it turns out they were the first to expose the moon rock as a fraud. Because Apollo 11 astronauts that went on tour, and they were giving various people in royalty and whatnot, moon rocks. Well, a few years back, they decided they wanted to take out an insurance policy on it, so they had it tested. And it turned out to be petrified wood. Interesting. You know, maybe that's why you have sort of before and after pictures like this, right? Have you guys seen the press conference of these guys when they came back? I'm pretty spazzed as a person as it is. If I had been on the moon, man, I'd still be floating. I'd have been spazzed out of my mind. These guys look like they just found out Santa Claus isn't real, the Easter is a fraud, you know. Watch the first 3 to 4 minutes of that press conference. Wow. It actually looks to me like probably some really good patriotic guys doing their duty for God and country, so they believe, being forced to tell a lie. That's just my opinion. If this is new to you, I suggest you spend some time on this website right here, aulis.com, A-U-L-I-S. You know, who am I? You saw my resume up there, right? I mean, I don't have any pictures, you know, showing me in a fancy robe with a square hat and a tassel hanging down. There's no letters after my name. There's no reason for you to listen to me. In fact, I would say don't listen to me. Don't believe a thing I say. Go out and look this stuff up for yourself. But this is PhD level people analyzing the Apollo missions and exposing it as a fraud. So you want to listen to this crazy guy from Texas, go listen to them. All right, go check that out. Or we could just let NASA speak for themselves, shall we? Let's listen to what they have to say.
Okay. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
We're also really pushing the boundaries in terms of where we're going forward with exploration. I think humans are naturally driven to do this, and this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit. I certainly plan on being around to see that.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. We only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Once we travel beyond low Earth orbit, the crew will be exposed to larger amounts of radiation. So we have to design both the crew protection systems and our electronic systems to withstand this radiation.
If there is something that definitely, at least in my opinion, exposes the Apollo program as a fraud, it's the Orion project. The Orion project, after they retired the space shuttle, the next project that's on the board right now is called Project Orion. And they're pretty much telling you that Apollo never happened, especially when they put out videos like this talking about the Van Allen radiation belts.
We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation.
What?
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation.
One more time.
An area of dangerous radiation.
Oh. What's wrong with that radiation?
Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice.